So my name is Jason Potter, and today I'm going to be presenting on applicable data visualizations and analytical tools for an OR consultancy company. So as a little bit of background about myself, I work with CORDA, which is the Centre of Operational Research and Decision Analytics, as part of BAE Systems. So we are representing really the analytical consultancy side of BAE. We work directly with the government as is in DSTL, and we also work a lot internally. So we do a lot of support to BAE with their projects and what's going on inside, and we're able to give the OR analysis and the support as it goes. So my background is in maths. I did a master's in operational research at Southampton. I've done a bit of data analysis working with Excel, absolutely hated it. It was horrible. I'm sure many people may relate with that or may disagree. And then I've done work with Babcock on a vehicle scheduling problem, which was very interesting as my master's dissertation. And now I work for 6 months within CORDA. So the objective of my presentation is first off not to sell you anything. I really want to discuss what I feel has been a good way for me to make an impression to clients and to my co-workers and have been able to demonstrate what I can do. So I'm going to introduce and demonstrate a couple of programs that I have used to show some of my data visualizations. These are programs that I've chosen to use because I think they're striking, I think they're easy to use, and I think it gives users a lot more information than perhaps what you'd have if you're just using the basic set of tools. I'm going to highlight some issues that I've come across when presenting and what I've run into and how I've dealt with them. And also, my third point is to explore the capabilities of Alteryx. I don't want to sell you Alteryx, I want to show what this program can do, how I think it fits in a world where we want to big up OR, and how other things that may compare to it. I am going to end up complaining about Excel, but I do believe that Excel does have a place. I just think within OR, perhaps it might be overused, and that there are other tools which can do the job better. So this is a fantastic problem that I was dealing with a couple of weeks ago. It's not going all the way up. Okay. So what the problem I was dealing with is I have been given a list of all the projects within BAE in a certain time frame, and I know lots of information about these projects. I know how long they've been going on. I know how well they've done in terms of their key performance indexes. I know how many people have been working on this project. I know loads of information about the people that are going on, and it's a very open-ended problem. The result that I'm trying to gain from this is I want to be able to prove and show and maybe forecast which projects are going to be good in the future. So there's loads of ways you can do this, and there's lots of programs you can use, and you can explore it in many ways. And I used absolutely everything I knew to try and solve this problem and to really explore the data. So I incorporated R, this huge script here. Well, this is just the top bit with the file locations changed because I can't show anything like that. I did lots of regression analysis. I pulled out practically everything I'd done within my master's degree in terms of every single R script that I'd used for forecasting, deterministic methods, and I shoved everything in it. And I was able to get to some conclusions within myself, and I was able to then go and present some information to my co-workers who I was working on this project with, and to help them support and make an argument to a client, which was internal within BAE, about what we think did well and what we think didn't do well, and how we can predict them. But I couldn't show anyone this. This lovely R script, which was so beautiful and took me so long to do, it doesn't help because you can't understand it. You can't really go into it, and I'd love to show you how I've managed to solve this regression model, but to be able to present this and say, this is what I've done, you can check it, you can look at it, it doesn't solve any problems. So the tool I used from my R script is I went and made visualizations for each step of the process that I'd used in Tableau. Now, Tableau is a beautiful tool. It's absolutely lovely and very close to my heart because of the way that it can make your data look. It makes things look very striking, very clear. These are print screens, so perhaps they're not quite as good as showing you the actual program. But you can clearly see here some information that was in my R script, so I've had to change the names of these. But black, blue, and red here are showing some sort of correlation. And I'd proved this statistically, that these three elements of different projects had some relationship between each other. And I was able to take this away to my co-workers and say, this is what we can argue. I was then able to give them the R script, but only after I could physically show people who are professionals in OR, but aren't necessarily professionals in using analytics to be able to say, this is what you need to take to the customer, this is what will do us well. Water. So my point, which I'm really trying to emphasize, is OR analysis needs to be complemented with a final product that looks as good or better, preferably, than the technical work. I understand that there's a lot of academic people in here, perhaps have done PhDs. I like to think of it as if you've done a PhD and then you turn up to your job interview afterwards wearing a tracksuit. You've done all the work to make yourself be the best you can be and a professional, and then at the last minutes you're not showing how well and what you've achieved. It's not giving off that impression. So here's another example. This is a very basic, very simple bit of Excel. We've all seen this 1,000 times. We get data given to us like this every day. I'm sure we experience this all the time. So the project I was doing was for the MOD, and I wanted to know from this information what we could gain for it and what we could show. So currently, the MOD use this information on one tab in their Excel, and in the other tab, they had pie charts and bar charts and everything very simple. And the way that they were collecting information from this is that whenever they updated the file, they'd copy-paste, and the charts would change, and they'd get some new information, and they'd be able to compare it and move on. So they had something that was coming out and looking like this. And they said to me and a couple of other guys at CORDA, we don't like this. We can't go and show the information necessarily that we're getting here to our superiors. We can't show us to the boss and say, this is what we've done with this information. It doesn't look good compared to the analysis that we've done to get to this stage. So we built with them, using a tool called Power BI, a dashboard. So I've got two different examples cut down the middle here of my dashboard that I created for them. Firstly, these guys are called donut charts. They're brilliant. They're basically a pie chart with a hole in them. But it looks so much more professional, it looks so much clearer, and I don't know, I just like them. I've got a bit of favoritism here. So this dashboard is what I created them with the information they had, and it very much mirrors what they had before in terms of just in Excel on their additional tab, but it was a lot clearer, and it's easy to see, and most importantly, it's hierarchical. So this information on this side represents one batch of information. We've got a list here. I've blacked everything out because I can't show it, but it's fine. So this is just text information of what I decided to show. I've got two filters, which are for my donut charts, a bar chart, and this is done in R. It's a words cloud, which is searching for particular keywords within a text amount of a document, of the Excel file. So they were able to see exactly what's coming up and what's clear from the information that they're given. The one on the right, all I've done is I've clicked here on my mouse in Power BI on the software. And what it's done is it's filtered. It's only now showing me the things from that particular segment. So I can present to my clients that from that section of that blue section up there, this is what we're getting from the information in here. The keywords are now slightly changed. Looks fairly similar, but a lot of these are not appearing within that blue segment. And this is the final set of solutions that we're down to. So we're able to give them something that they can use as an analytical tool without doing any analysis whatsoever. They clicked a button, and that was it. So now that I've talked about tools, I thought I should probably do some sort of comparison between them. Tableau, I would argue, is a stronger tool in terms of the analysis because it gives you a lot more freedom. You're able to do things with Tableau that perhaps any other sort of visual tool wouldn't let you because it allows you to add and edit information within it. You're able to go and design and implement your own variables within Tableau to form your own graphs. You can do quadratic trend lines or whatever, something, I don't know. But it was very good in the first example because we wanted to constantly produce different updated dashboards and be able to show them how they've changed over time. If you want to do something quick, and I will say it's free, which is probably the big point, but I'll get to that in a second. Power BI, I think, is a better tool because it's very easy to learn. I didn't really have any issues getting it installed because it's part of the Microsoft Office suite, although no one seems to know that. I didn't know that until a week ago. And it's very easy to really use and get involved and interact with. I say free because nothing in the world is ever free, and whilst it might be free in terms of money if you have the Microsoft suite, It might take you 3 months to get it through the system at work. I think we've all been there. So, how do we present the technical side? Because within that R work that I showed earlier, I then went on to talk about how I did a visualization to show my conclusions. But I didn't actually say, if someone asked, well, how did you do that? Can you please explain to me how you actually went and did that? I wouldn't be able to really answer that from a few graphs. And we all want to be able to demonstrate our technical skills and what we've done to get to an answer. So to do that, I present 3 new tools. I'm not trying to sell you these, and for my example, I will talk about Alteryx, but I will have to assume that both Talent and SAP Enterprise Miner are able to do everything that Alteryx is able to do for this example. The top 3 are the typical ways that I've been presenting for the first few months that I was at BAE, and how a lot of people present things, I think, as a format. I'd argue that these 3 are giving a click, not code solution to be able to demonstrate what you're doing with your technical analysis. So this is Alteryx. It's beautiful. So this is just an R script. It is just an R script from the left here to the bend. And I'll demonstrate that by going through the bottom one here. So this is an input of a data. All we're doing is implementing data. And it's just we're going to the top of a bar, dragging down saying, I want to implement data. And then from there, I'm going to go through this step, which is cleaning it. So it's removing all white space. That is a real pain in Excel, and it's a real pain in a lot of programs. But this Alteryx seems to manage it and deal with it very quickly. This is a sort. I'm getting rid of some information I don't need. I'm just narrowing down my options. I'm then doing a filter. So this information, as an example, is looking at some people data. I'm choosing here to select only people who are full-time. Now I'm going to take a sum of it or do something. Then I'm going to do a filter, which is the chemistry flask. Then I'm transposing the data in the last orange one. Finally, I'm taking a sample, and then I'm outputting the data with an error because I haven't run this properly. But what this did, it took me a few minutes to really write up and do this process. It's a very exaggerated process. You're not perhaps going to be doing this with many of your data because it's a bit of a weird stretch of tools and things to go through. But it's a very quick procedure that I'm able to implement in Alteryx without much hassle. I don't think you'd be able to do this in Excel in a way that's repeatable, because once you've done it once and you've done some of these steps and then you're transposing it, how are you going to do it again? That's not in a way that's exactly the same way you did before. It's going to be very manual. In R and Python, you could repeat this, and you could make this as a process that you could repeat easily. But it would take you quite a while to write that up. And if someone could tell me that they could do that in 20 minutes, I'd be very impressed. It may be possible. So this, just an example, and I'm going to assume that Alteryx, SAP Enterprise Miner, and any of the other competitors may have this capability. But being as this is the OR conference and we've got lots of academic people here, I wanted to be able to show that these programs can do things that a OR professional who wants to be able to do analysis, these are the tools that may be an option for you. So there's a lot of advanced regression tools within it. It uses R and Python integrated. So this process is allowing you to click and provide an R package without doing any steps. It's very quick, it's a very fast process. You're able to do advanced analytics without really applying much effort in terms of building and writing a script of information. So this is really where I want to compare click versus code. So Alteryx is very easy to follow and explain. I was able to explain that bottom line, and I hope that you guys were able to follow as that path was going, what was happening to the information that was being processed. If I was to present my R script at the start, I'm sure a few of you recognized that I'd gone to the library, I'd inputted some data, I'd messed around a bit. But if I scrolled down maybe half a page and then showed you what that segment looked like, it just goes higgledy-piggledy. It's a complete mess, but it's going to be because it's R and it's something that I've done to help myself, not necessarily to go and spread and make it easy for everyone to understand. So whilst I think this is great and it's very presentable, so I will argue that Python and R by themselves have lots more flexibility, and that's always going to be the case because they're a very ground level language. We could argue and then say C probably is even below that, that if you really need to do the analysis, there's no better option than to do the hard programming languages anyway. They also probably have broader applications because you're never going to be able to get absolutely everything that you want to do in an app form in a program such as Talent or Alteryx. there are other more bespoke tools as well. So Simulate, for example, is also a very good tool to present with. You can show what's going on within your simulation and it's very clear. And MATLAB is also maybe a bit closer to being a more code-related tool, but it's still very specifically focused and perhaps is really in a different category here altogether. Just as a little bit extra, this is what it says when I have an error. So that output data 48 is telling me that my 48 app, which is an input data, has just completely failed massively. And it is because I can't organize my data properly and I've sent it to go to the wrong folder. It highlights this issue to me. As soon as I run the process, I'm able to find out exactly why that's happened and fix it quickly. It's a lot easier to find and solve the issues when you do run into them, as we all do every time we run a process. Nothing ever works first time. So thank you for listening to my presentation. If you have any questions, it'd be really great to hear them. I'm also very interested if there are other analytical tools or visualizations that people are using, being as it's interesting to me to know what people are using and what's popular these days. Thank you for listening.